Well, it's the countdown to touchdown for Chandrayaan 3 as it gears up for the soft landing. The Vikram lander module will be ready for that moon landing in just hours from now. India is all set to make lunar history, the dark side of the moon, the South Pole, the Atkins Basin. No other craft has gone there. The Russians attempted it, India attempted it before that. But will it be India landing there first? We'll have to wait and watch. The spacecraft that carries the hopes of not just the Indian Space Research Organization, but also of billions of Indians and also the expectations of scientists, space researchers and space adventurers worldwide. The landing on the 23rd of August at 6:04 p.m. It's the countdown to that fantastic touchdown we are expecting. Prayers Havan being conducted, everybody hoping for the best. ISRO confirming that all is on track, repeatedly sending out images of the dark side of the moon as the lander rover module moves towards that entire orbit and that proximity, the closest point from where it will start attempting the landing. Government sources now revealed to News 18 that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is likely to virtually join the Chandrayaan team during the time when the landing is attempted. Mind you, he's at BRICS, he's in South Africa at this point. But this touchdown on the surface of the moon, that too on the dark side at the South Pole, is something everybody is waiting for. First, let's tell you about the 42-day journey to the moon. The takeoff happened on the 14th of July. It began from Sriharikota and it was all done, practiced to the T and went on smoothly. Milestone 1 was the 15th of July when the first orbit-raising maneuver happened. So as this entire Chandrayaan modules moved away from the Earth and trying with each elliptical orbit moving out and out and out and finally slingshotting itself after milestone 2 on the 1st of August, inserted itself into the translunar orbit. And on the 5th of August, the lander propulsion module actually separated. It inserted into the lunar orbit, milestone 3. Milestone 4 was the in-orbit circularization phase. Milestone 5, we come to the lander propulsion module separating on the 17th, and then of course the deboosting maneuver that was completed on the 18th of August. So all these milestones have gone as planned. But there's the 15 minutes of terror. That's what scientists call it. The final 15 minutes, that is the descent onto the moon's surface. That will determine the success of the mission, because from a speed of about 1.68 kilometers per second, you got to reduce your speed to just about 2 meters per second. That's the deceleration. That's where the 4 thrusters play a critical role. The lander begins the descent towards the moon. That's what the 15 minutes of terror. To move towards the moon at 6,000 kilometers per hour, ISRO will then give commands to the lander. The lander will then have its own computers that will do the calculation and figure out the deceleration. The thrusters will kick in. All four engines of the lander will be used. The speed will be reduced to just 2 meters per second. And the lander will be made vertical. So it's horizontal right now, it will become vertical and then land on its 4 strong legs, which have been made stronger in that final braking phase, to much stronger than before, to even wield a little bit more than 2 meters per second. So what is expected to happen on the 23rd of August at 6:04 p.m. if all goes according to plan? The Vikram lander carrying the Praggnanandhaa rover attempts the landing. That's what it will do. Then the attempt will be to soft land on the moon's south side at the South Pole, the big Atkins Basin, the biggest crater. Series of complex braking maneuvers will come into play. And of course, the lander will actually hover around for a bit to see if the surface is ideal. The sensors will send a message back into the computer and then it will choose the ideal place to land. Sans the boulders, sans too much of soft moon soil, and then figure out the most perfect available landing space. Rover named Praggnanandhaa will then roll out of the lander. Praggnanandhaa will explore the nearby lunar surface, the area, and it will gather images that will be sent back to Earth. It will also pick up samples which will take it back into the lander, which will then send those images of those samples and what's being collected. All that data will be sent back to our space station back and also in Karnataka, and then relayed to the ISRO headquarters. Chandrayaan 3 will explore the unexplored, the dark side of the moon. The possibility of water is in a larger area, in permanent shadow. That's why It's believed to have more water and ice and could hold 100 million tons of water. That's the possibility because the dark side is not exposed to the elements, and that's why it could preserve how the earth was billions of years ago, when this chunk of earth separated from it and then became the earth's own satellite, that is the moon. Frozen time capsule temperatures as low as minus 203 degrees centigrade on a moon night could contain preserved materials, insights into geological developments. There are so many aspects that will come to the fore because we have not known this at all. Untapped resources, traces of hydrogen, methane, it could hold sodium, mercury and silver, source of precious minerals, the original soil of the earth, composition of it billions of years ago, the crust, mantle and core, we could know all of that. Future exploration aids coming up, and of course the upcoming lunar missions, ideal pit stop for Mars missions. So this is what India will sell to the world, that we've achieved this. And in what? In just our second attempt to land. Second attempt. This is not the first attempt by India. In 2019 too, India made a similar attempt. But what's the difference between then and now? Let's try and quickly compare and contrast Chandrayaan 2 with Chandrayaan 3. Chandrayaan 2 cost 978 crore because it also had the orbiter module in it. Chandrayaan 3 cost 615 crore. But it's equally heavy because the Praggnanandhaa rover and the Vikram lander have been made heavier, and they've been also packed with more features, more abilities. Chandrayaan 2 component, the orbiter, lander, rover. Chandrayaan 3 component, the propulsion module, lander and rover. Chandrayaan 2 payloads were 14. Chandrayaan 3 payloads were, total number is 7. Lesser number but equally 3.9 tons. Chandrayaan 2 days to the moon took 48. Chandrayaan 3 days to the moon is 42. Chandrayaan 2 contained one camera to detect hazards. Chandrayaan 3 contains two cameras to be more robust. It also has added features. The Praggnanandhaa rover has added solar panels. Chandrayaan 2 landing site is a high plane between two craters. Chandrayaan 3, the landing site is slightly off the Chandrayaan 2 site. So not too much variation as far as the landing site is concerned. Then Chandrayaan also sets the ball rolling for India's next big mission, that is Gaganyaan, further on into space and also sending a human being into space. First manned mission into space. 3 crew members in space for 3 to 4 days. The mission to a 400-kilometer low Earth orbit, splashdown in Indian waters. And then fourth nation to launch a crewed spacecraft after, of course, US, Russia and China. But India was not the only one in the race. Russia also launched a moon mission and they tried to race it. That was the lunar mission, but it failed. August 11, Russia launched the Luna 25. Attempt was to soft land on the same side of the moon that India is attempting. August 21st, it was expected to reach the South Pole, but the spacecraft crashed on the moon. Deviation of actual parameters. Device switched to an off design orbit. That's what happened. So when all of these aspects happened, Russia was disappointed. But it was nearly after 5.5 decades that they were attempting it. It's not that Russia has not landed successfully on the moon. But 5.5 decades later, how could they make a mistake? What is the difference between Luna 25 and Chandrayaan 3? Chandrayaan 3 and Chandrayaan 2. Who better to ask and converse and understand than a former ISRO chief himself? Listen in to what G Madhavan Nair had to say when he spoke with me a short while ago.
G Madhavan Nair ji, we are starting. Thank you very much, sir. Namaskaram. We are all counting down. I think it's just a few hours, but the all-important moment. And this time around, there seems to be not just hope, but belief that we will get the soft landing right.
Well, certainly a lot of efforts have gone behind this mission. After the Chandrayaan 2, ISRO has done a considerable amount of changes in their design and in strengthening the subsystems like the thrusters, landing legs and computer software and all those things. And a large number of simulations and validation also has been done. So there is every chance, there's an extremely good chance that we'll be able to achieve the mission this time.
One question that I'm very curious about is that none of the other space-bound nations like China, Russia, or America in the past, Russia attempted it now, have looked at the dark side of the moon. Why has India chosen the Atkins Basin or the South Pole?
Well, there are two reasons. One is, the presence of large quantity of water is confirmed in the southern pole. So in the future, if we want to have some robotic colony or even human presence, the South Pole is ideal location. The second, since it's the dark side and there is not much of disturbance happening with respect to time, we may get some idea about the origin of the moon and the condition of the planet Earth when the moon spun off from the Earth and so on. So the data what we get will be throwing some light on the basic principles behind the origin of the planet Earth itself. And again, whether we can confirm the presence of helium-3 and other exotic minerals there, that will be an opportunity for us. So this is a very important mission as far as India is concerned. We have some data from the remote observation from the Chandrayaan 1 and Chandrayaan 2. This is an opportunity to validate in situ that information. More than that, the technology demonstration with respect to soft landing on a faraway territory where there is no beacon, there is no GPS, nothing. It has to be done autonomously using the self-contained instrumentation, the cameras, the altimeters, and so on. So this is really going to be the cutting edge of technology. And once we demonstrate that, we'll be showing to the world that we are in par with the Western world as far as the high technology is concerned.
But Russians also quite ambitious with Luna. If you were to contrast Luna and Chandrayaan 3, because many people are curious where Luna failed, why do you think Chandrayaan 3 or why do we think Chandrayaan 3 will succeed?
Well, we don't have much information about the Luna failure, but Russia has done this 50 years back, and it was really surprising that they got into a problem this time. One thing is, the approaching the moon, there are many uncertainties. The gravitational field around the moon, even the thruster calibration, the orbital calibration, etc. Russians did it pretty fast, but as far as the ISRO is concerned, they are taking a very cautious approach, going step by step. So that approach may have a better chance of success compared to the Russian one.
ISRO says at exactly 2 hours prior to the scheduled landing, they will take a final call. If not, they will even postpone the landing to the 27th. Can you explain that to us, please?
Certainly, I think that is a very right thing for ISRO to do, because it's a very precious mission and we can't afford to take any risk. We have to ensure that everything, both on board as well as the ground, works to the perfection, to the satisfaction of whatever targets what we have set. Then only we can give the final command for the soft landing. So naturally, the 2 hours before, ISRO chairman will be taking a call and then deciding on the further course of action.
How is the Vikram Ranger better than the last time around? We are given to understand from 5, they brought it down to 4 thrusters, but you had mentioned that the lander has stronger legs. It's more robust. What are the kind of changes? Does it also have an autopilot mode where the lander itself can take over away from ground control in those 15 minutes of the landing?
No, this last 15 minutes of operation is all autonomous with the computer taking control in the lander module itself. It is imagine a situation, an aircraft will have to land on a field where there are no beacons, no radars, and it's only the terrain pictures are available. So we are in similar situation, and also even the type of the environment which you face there, especially the gravitational field and things like that, there is no precise knowledge. So this mission with the onboard, the measurements are very, very important. The first, of course, the optical measurement from the stereoscopic camera. Then there is a laser imaging system as well as a Doppler, which gives the position as well as velocity indications. There are gyroscopes and accelerometers to decide whether the thrusters are working or not. Then the control system to stabilize the attitude, the orientation of the module, so that at various phases it is pointing in the right direction, and ultimately the legs are pointing down. And the ultimate challenge is in finding a spot where there is not much of problems of collision. You see, for example, if there are some boulders are there or some craters are there, they are danger spots. So the onboard camera will have to analyze that zone and take a decision. So it will be hovering around the low altitude and taking pictures. And once it is satisfied, the onboard computer gets satisfied that is the right location, it will give the command for final dropping to the surface. So this is an extremely complex operation, and every element has to work perfectly.
Dear G Madhavan Nair ji, my final question: how confident are you that we'll nail those 15 minutes?
Well, I think the space is full of challenges, and we have challenges several times. And hard work, which is put in by the ISRO team, even the God will not deny the success.
Let's hope that, and that's the prayer, sir. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Always a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Namaskaram. Thank you.
Thank you.